all I was trying to do was show them different types of families, and that some people have two mummies, some people have two daddies, and things like that. And you think something as simple as that wouldn't be offensive, but apparently it is. I grew up in Rayleigh in Essex, and I had a lovely childhood. And I guess it was actually maybe around the age of, 4 or 5 that I started to become aware of gender stereotypes and how certain toys are for girls and certain toys are for boys, and how I didn't kind of necessarily conform. And I think as I got older, it just became more and more apparent. And because of that, I tended to filter myself. That filtering that I learned as a kid, it's still a part of my everyday routine. Like when I leave the house, when I'm walking down the street, I often think about myself, the way I'm moving, the way I look, and if there's anything that kind of gives away the fact that I'm gay, because it's not necessarily safe to be visibly gay in our world, unfortunately. So I'm the director of Pop and Olly, and Pop and Olly is an LGBT plus edutainment resource, and it's used by children and teachers and parents and carers to teach about diversity and acceptance. And the mission is to combat homo, bi and transphobia before it can even begin. So many different things have inspired me to do this educational work. One of the things has been, my own experience growing up and not having LGBT plus figures in cartoons and storybooks, because that sort of representation is so needed, it's so important. To be able to see a queer prince or a transgender character in a children's book, I think can potentially save lives. So I've had so many amazing, memorable moments and feedback from parents, from teachers and from children. One that really stands out is a couple of years ago, a young trans boy came up to me and he said, "Thank you for writing this story, Jamie, because my name's Jamie and this story you've written is about me." And I was literally like, oh my gosh. It's so funny because you don't necessarily always think about the person you're writing the story for until you meet them, which is incredible when you do get to meet them. I have received pushback with regards to my inclusive videos and books. It's funny because it didn't happen for a long time. Like, I feel like I was just kind of growing with it and it was 99% positive. But it wasn't until maybe like a few years down the line when I started to reach outside of my comfort zone and my comfort audience. And that's when things kind of took a turn for a while. And I was accused of brainwashing children, of confusing them. And all I was trying to do was show them different types of families, and that some people have two mummies, some people have two daddies, and things like that. And you think something as simple as that wouldn't be offensive, but apparently it is. So the Birmingham protests that happened in 2019 were a difficult time, especially for so many of my teacher friends who were up there and really on the front lines. It was just so awful watching that unfold. And I did get dragged into it because obviously my books and my videos and resources were being used. And it just really saddened me because I have actually been to that school, Parkfield School, and I'd met the children there, and the children there are so smart and so welcoming, and it was just heartbreaking to see their parents reacting in such a different way to the children. And I always say, like, children aren't given enough credit for how smart and for how righteous they are. Like, they understand what LGBT plus means. They understand about diversity and acceptance. The one thing they don't understand is unfairness and injustice. I think the problem is that some parents think when it comes to LGBT plus education that we're teaching primary age children about very adult subjects, and that's not what we're doing at all. LGBT plus education for primary children is about different types of families. It's about breaking gender stereotypes. It's about teaching children that you can grow up to be whoever you are and love whoever you want. So that experience did impact me in a difficult way, especially mentally. It kind of made me think things that I'd never thought before. It really made me question myself as well, and it made me wonder if I was doing the right thing or if there was something wrong with me for wanting to educate children about this. Yeah, it took me to a super dark place, which wasn't fun. Took me quite a while to get out of that funk. But, you know, with help from a lot of friends and people who did support my work and a little bit of therapy, I managed to kind of get back to who I was. And if anything, well, like all bad things, it makes you stronger, doesn't it? And it gives you a little bit thicker skin. And now I kind of enjoy the hate sometimes. Is that weird? When I get abuse from anyone online, I tend to donate a book to a school on their behalf, which equally really annoys them. And I sometimes even write their name on the donation slip, which I probably shouldn't do, but that's kind of cathartic for me. The new mandatory guidance for relationship education for primary schools, it's a little bit of a grey area. Well, it was. And I think that is what caused a lot of problems, because it says you need to teach about family diversity. Now, to me, family diversity is inclusive of LGBT plus families, but to someone else, they might not think that. And that's where kind of the problems came from. But now if you log onto the website and look at the guidance, it's been updated and it says to include LGBT plus families in your teachings. So there really is no wiggle room, no matter what school you're at, whether you're at a mandatory state school or a private school or a religious school, you need to let children know that LGBT plus families exist. I think as children get older, as long as you've kind of put this foundation in place, it's easier to have conversations with them about different types of people and let them know that it's okay to be different. It's okay for two men to get married. It's okay for people to be lesbian or trans or non-binary. I think it's about being honest with them and also helping them to make their own decisions as well. So I've got loads of goals with regards to my work, and one of my main ones is getting a copy of my latest book in every single primary school in the UK. The book's called Kenny Lives with Erica and Martina. And so far, we've got it in about 3,000 schools in the UK. We've got a long way to go because there's about 20,000. But the schools are loving it. They're finding it really useful as part of their relationship education. And yeah, I just want to keep making more books, more videos, more classroom content, for teachers, and just make it as easy for them as possible to teach about diversity and inclusion. It's really important for schools to be safe spaces for LGBT plus students. We know that LGBT plus related bullying is the most common form of bullying found in UK schools. We even know that almost half of young trans people have attempted to take their own life. I want this Pride Award to inspire children and young people to write their own stories and to have courage whilst doing so.